Hi, welcome. I'm Candace, and I'm going to take you through a gentle prenatal yoga class. I am currently in my third trimester. I'm about almost 30 weeks along, and this should be suitable for any trimester, but you might find it more beneficial in your second and third trimester when you have a little bit less mobility. So props, I'm sitting up on a blanket. You might choose to have 1 to 2 blocks. That can be nice, particularly as the belly gets bigger and we can't really reach the floor as easily. If you don't have blocks available, you can try to find a big sturdy book. And you also might choose to have a strap if you'd like one. But if you don't have a specific yoga strap, you can use a belt, or the belt of a robe can work nicely, or a ribbon, just something sturdy. So you can go ahead and find those props if you decide that you'd like them. And we'll start in Sukhasana, which is a comfortable seated position. So that can be cross-legged if you'd like, or it can be sitting up onto your shins, or any seated posture that feels comfortable and supported for you. So once you find that nice comfortable posture, go ahead and sit up tall. Think about bringing the chin down towards your chest, and the crown of the head is lifting up towards the sky. You can close your eyes if that feels comfortable, or you can find something to settle your gaze on the floor in front of you. Take a few rounds of breath, just allowing yourself to settle. Inhaling, gathering strength and energy, and exhaling, releasing tension. Take a few more breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. And then you can start to bring your breath into more of a regular pattern. So inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose. Allowing your breath to slow a little bit, to deepen. Trying to find a rhythm to your breath that feels deep and nourishing, but is not so long or so deep that it causes you any mental stress. And if your eyes are closed, you can go ahead and open them, and we'll start to move our body. We're going to inhale, sweep the arms up and overhead, and exhale, holding them back. Just taking some gentle arm circles. Inhaling to lift, and exhaling them back. Starting to raise the heart rate a little bit, and then we'll take those circles in the other direction, inhaling them up, and exhale forward. Good. And now we're going to do the circle of joy breath. So you're going to inhale, interlace your hands in front of you. As you exhale, push your palms away as you round your spine towards the wall behind you, and let your chin dip down towards your chest. On your next inhale, lift your palms up towards the ceiling, opening up through the chest, trying to keep your ribs towards each other a little bit. So you're opening through the heart without letting the ribs splay. On your next exhale, release the hands and then interlace them behind your back if that's possible. If not, you can grab hold of opposite wrists. And then as you inhale, opening up through the chest as you reach your arms away from you. And then exhale to release. Inhale, interlace. Exhale, round the back, push the hands away. Inhale, let your pelvis tip forward as you lift your chest and your gaze. Exhale, release. Inhale, interlace the hands. Exhale, opening the chest, shoulder blades towards each other. And inhale, release. Good. All right, we'll do a chest opener. So once again, try to interlace your hands behind your back if that's possible. If not, grab hold of opposite elbows. Take your fist to one side of your waist. So I'll mirror you. So this is the left side of the waist. So the fist is nestled into the left side of your body. Inhale, opening up through the chest, trying to puff your heart out. And as you exhale, bring your elbows closer towards each other so that your shoulder blades are moving towards each other behind your back. And then release. Shake that out. Notice if one shoulder feels a little different than the other. And then find that interlace behind the back again. Maybe find the opposite interlace so that you have your habitual interlace, and then try to switch the fingers so the opposite thumb and index finger are on top. Behind the back, take it to the other side of your waist. Inhale, opening up into the chest, stretching the pecs. And as you exhale, elbows reach towards each other. Elbows come towards each other, shoulders reaching. And release. Bring your hands to your knees. We're going to do a few spine circles. So inhale, come forward. Exhale, scoop your belly in. Tip your chin down. Inhale forward and exhale, rounding the spine. Taking a few of these. I'm going to warm up the spine a little bit. Be nice and gentle here. We're more likely to overstretch ourselves when we're pregnant, so just keep your movements maybe a little bit smaller than you might normally. And then we're going to pause, and we're going to change the cross of the legs to keep things even, and then we'll take those circles in the other direction. So you exhale as you come back. Inhale forward. Exhale back. And you can check in with the baby, see how he, she, they are feeling in there. And then come to stillness. All right, so we're going to do a little bit of a hip stretch that can help widen the hips for childbirth, and it can also help relieve round ligament pain, especially if you do it daily. So I'll mirror you. So we're going to take our right foot, bend the knee, and place the right foot on the earth. Take that left foot and just hug it in towards your groin as close as is comfortable. And then bring your left hand on the earth outside you. Take that right elbow and just gently push it into your right knee. So you're sort of stretching the right knee away, and you're stretching out through the groin area on your right side. You can have this hand behind you as support, or if you prefer, you can have your hands at prayer. That can create a little bit more counter pressure to create a little bit more gentle opening here. As you exhale, you're pulling your baby towards your spine, pulling your pelvic floor up like you're doing a cable. And then release. We'll take that on the other side. Left foot on the earth. Right foot tucks in towards the groin. So I've got a little bit of tendinitis in this knee, so I wasn't able to get it as close into the groin. This one more easily moves in towards the legs. And then your right hand's going to come on the earth behind you. Left elbow to left knee and gentle pushing it away. And if it feels okay, you can have your hands at prayer instead. So in second and third trimester especially, you might start to experience some round ligament pain. The ligaments at the front of your pelvis start to thicken and also stretch out, which can create some shooting pain, can be fairly unpleasant. And so counterintuitively, actually stretching this area can help to ease tension, especially if you do it daily. So we just start to create a little daily stretch into the pelvis and the hips. Breathing in through the nose, out through the nose. And go ahead and release. We're going to move on to hands and knees. If you want to have your props nearby, I welcome you to grab those. If your knees are a little bit sensitive, you might choose to have a blanket folded underneath your knees, which I will do because I've got a hard floor and sensitive knees. Okay, so coming into hands and knees, stack your shoulders directly over your wrists. Stack your hips directly over your knees. This is a time when practicing in front of a computer or a mirror can be handy. And then instead of doing our full cat-cow that you might be used to in yoga class, in which you drop your belly really far down to the ground, we're instead going to do just some gentle pelvic tilts. So we're just going to lift the tailbone up towards the sky. And then as you exhale, tuck the tailbone under. So it's just a more gentle version of a forward and backward spine stretch that brings it more into the pelvis. So just tiny little tucks forward and back. Good. And now let's come into polar bear pose. So you bring your forearms down to the earth. Your elbows should be underneath your shoulders. And then from here, you can just sway your hips from side to side. You can have your knees a little bit wider if that feels more comfortable. This is a nice position for laboring because it helps bring the baby into that good head down position. So this is your polar bear pose. This can be an alternate rest position from child's pose if child's pose feels like it's too compressing of the belly when you're pregnant. And then we're going to lift ourselves back up onto all fours. And we're going to find what's called Hasta Bandha or hand lock. So this is a hand position that helps to protect your wrists when you're coming into a pose that is weight bearing on your wrists as this all fours is and is downward facing dog. So what I'd like you to do is have your hands directly underneath your shoulders. Imagine that your hands are clocks. If your hand is a clock, if you notice that your middle finger is naturally pointing straight forward towards 12 o'clock, I'd like you just to rotate your hand a little bit out to the side so it's your index finger that's pointing straight ahead to 12 o'clock. So index fingers pointing straight forward to 12 o'clock on either hand. And then with your right hand, imagine that you're holding onto a jam jar and you're opening that jam jar to the right side. So that's gonna help you externally rotate your shoulder in its socket, and it's gonna turn that elbow crease. It's gonna turn that elbow crease towards the upper left-hand corner of the mat, which is what you want. So index finger forward, fingers spread, turning that palm out towards the right side, and that elbow crease is pointing up towards the upper left corner of the mat. And then we'll do the same with the left hand. So index finger pointing to 12 o'clock, turn your left hand energetically, so you're not moving the hand, but energetically imagine you're opening that jam jar out to the left, and the elbow crease on the left side is pointing to the upper right corner of the mat. And then create a little bit more intensity pressing down through your index finger and your thumb to help keep weight out of your wrists. So that'll help keep the wrist safe, mitigate or help ease carpal tunnel in the wrist that we're more likely to experience when we're pregnant. From here, we're going to move into a downward facing dog. So you're going to tuck your toes under, you're going to press into the hands, straighten out through the legs, lift the hips up towards the sky, and release your head so that your ears are in line with your biceps. So normally we would have the feet about hip distance apart here, but if your belly is a little bit bigger, you might find it more comfortable to widen the stance out in your legs here. And we can start to bend the knees a little bit, pedaling out the legs. I'll give you an alternative here. So if you're happy in downward facing dog, you're welcome to stay there. If downward facing dog is no longer comfortable for you in this part of your pregnancy, you can also take down a downward facing dog at the wall. So you come to a wall, bring your hands to the wall at about shoulder height, and then start to walk your feet back until you're able to press your torso away from the wall so that your hands are supporting your weight and your feet are supporting your weight. So it's sort of this kind of half bend at the wall, and it's still giving you a nice little stretch through your legs and through your shoulders. Okay, from your downward facing dog, I'd like you to start to gently and slowly walk your feet forward to the top of the mat, coming into a forward fold, also known as Uttanasana. So if you're used to coming into your feet being hip distance apart here, you might need to widen your stance out a little bit. And we're just going to hang, let gravity do its work. Hold on to opposite elbows, release your head, and hang down here a little bit. And sway from side to side. Shake your head. Release your shoulders. And then release your elbows and bend your knees, roll yourself up to stand. Let's do a few shoulder rolls just to get that external rotation of the shoulders back. Good. And then we're going to come into Utkatasana. So feet can be hips distance apart, or you can have them a little bit wider if you need a little bit more space for your belly. We're going to inhale, sweep the arms up, and then exhale, sit your hips back, sinking down into what's called chair pose or Utkatasana. And then we're going to do a little bit of arm work here. So we're going to reach out long in front of us, and then we're going to imagine that we're folding onto 2 resistance bands. As you inhale, you're going to fill the belly, and as you exhale, you're going to imagine that there's imaginary resistance there, and you're pulling those bands towards your body. Inhale to release. Exhale, pull it in. Inhale, release. And exhale, pull it in. Once more. Inhale, release. And exhale, pull. And then we're going to fold forward, letting the legs straighten out. Inhale, lift up halfway. And then exhale, I'd like you to step your left foot long back behind you. Release the left knee down to the earth. And we're going to come into Anjaneyasana, kneeling crescent lunge. So you're going to make sure that your right knee is stacked over your right ankle. And then you're going to press into the right foot and sweep the arms up. Coming into Anjaneyasana. So if you find that your balance is a little bit wobbly here, which is more likely to happen in pregnancy, you can choose to take that right foot and step it out a few inches to the right, creating a wider base. Inhale, lift the arms up again if you've lowered them, and then bring them down to a cactus shape. We're going to inhale. As you exhale, bring your elbows towards each other so your elbows and your hands touch. Inhale, open. Exhale, touch. Inhale, open. Exhale, forearms touch. Last time. Inhale, open. And exhale, bring the forearms down. Place your hands down, and then go ahead and we'll have everybody walk your feet out to the right edge of the mat so that your hands can be down on the earth inside of the right foot. This is a place where if your hands can't comfortably touch the mat because maybe you've got a belly in your way or perhaps you're just quite tight through your hips, having 2 blocks underneath your hands here can feel very good. And then we're going to do some hip circles. So we're going to circle your hips around, and I like to allow my foot to sort of pivot and swirl around. So I'm just on my heel here. But if you want to have your foot all the way down, that's fine too. And these can just be whatever feels good in your body. So you can be swirling the hips, drawing figure 8s, going one direction, the other. Whatever feels nice. You can sort of straighten and pause into the little pockets of tension. And it can be nice to really drop that left hip down to the mat. Maybe even twisting your torso a little bit. So just letting this be sort of authentic expression of what your body, particularly your hips, want right now. And then we're going to pause. So bring that right knee back into line over the right ankle. And now we're in a lizard pose. So maybe you have your hands on a block. Maybe you want to move the block away to explore a deeper variation of lizard. And if you've got particularly open hips, you might come down onto your forearms so that your upper body is closer down to the earth. That's not the expression that's suitable for me right now, so I'm going to come back to the hips. I'm just going to breathe into this hip stretch wherever you are. And a few rounds of breath. And then from here, what I'd like you to do is take those right toes, pick them up, and then just move them out to the right a little bit so that your right knee is pointing out to a diagonal as opposed to straight ahead. And then if it feels comfortable, you can take your right hand, place it on the right knee and sort of move it away, just continuing to open up through the hip. If that's not appropriate for you, right hand can come back down to the earth. And then I'm going to give you an option to move a little bit deeper here if you'd like. Take that right arm and reach it long back behind you, looking out over those right fingertips, so you'll feel a little bit more stretch through your left hip. Keeping in mind that if it ever feels like too much, you must immediately back off because we are far more likely to overstretch ourselves in pregnancy than we are during other times. So it's not the time to push it to the limit. Bring that hand back down. And now from here, I'm going to move my blocks forward a little bit. We're going to take that right foot and we're going to continue to walk it just out to the right side until the right foot is in line with the left knee and those toes are pointing forward. So I'm going to bring a blanket underneath my left knee so that I can shimmy over a little bit so that you can see fully what I'm doing here so that the right foot is in frame. So right foot is in line with my left kneecap. I'm in this sort of side lunge here, and I'll show you like this. So we're in the side lunge. You're going to take that right leg, stretch it down the right arm, and lift the left arm up and over. This is called gate pose. So I'm going to get back into my alignment with the mat, coming into our side stretch. Side stretching can be really nice in pregnancy because we're kind of getting a big stretch, big forward stretch, but we're feeling a little locked up in other ways. And then release that hand down. Bring both hands down either to the mat or to blocks. And then I'd just like you to shift your hips back. So you're reaching your hips back towards that left heel. You can tuck the left toe under if you'd like to. So we're stretching out through the inside of the right side. Good, and then release out of that. Move the blocks out of the way. I'm going to take the blanket out of the way as well. And then so we've got that right leg out long. We're just going to send it long back behind us. Tuck the right toes under. So you're on your left knee. Both hands are down on the earth. Right heel is tucked. Sorry, right toes are tucked. And the right heel is reaching back towards the wall behind you. Coming into a calf stretch. And you can shift your weight forward, bringing your shoulders forward towards the hands, and then come back. And just shift that weight a few times to find that stretch. And then from here, we're going to move into a supported side plank. So you might take that left hand and move it towards the center of the mat a little bit so it's more in line with the left knee. Take the left shin and let it rotate out off the mat a little bit to give you a little bit more support. Seal the right foot down and lift the right arm. Supported side plank. Taking a few rounds of breath here. And then bring the right hand down, bring the right knee down. We're going to come back to downward facing dog. Hasta Bandha, hand lock, index fingers point forward. You're moving a jam jar, opening a jam jar with the right hand towards the right, left hand towards the left. Tuck the toes, lift the hips, downward facing dog. Inhale, and then exhale, walk the feet forward to meet the hands, coming into a forward fold. Your knees can be as bent as they need to be as you make that little journey. And then inhale, lift up halfway, exhale, fold. And inhale, bend your knees, sweep your arms up high overhead. Exhale, hands to heart center. Let's find Utkatasana again. So feet hips distance apart, or as wide as is comfortable. Lift the arms, sink the hips down, coming into your chair pose. Find that imaginary resistance. Inhale, exhale, pull it in. Inhale, stretch out. Exhale, pull it in. Twice more. Inhale, exhale, inhale, and exhale. And then folding forward. Inhale, lift up halfway. And then exhale, we're going to send the right foot back this time. Drop the right knee down. Adjust the left foot as needed so that that left ankle is directly on, left knee is directly on top of the left ankle. And then press into the left foot and lift the arms up. Anjaneyasana, kneeling crescent lunge. Bring the arms out to a cactus. And we're going to do a slightly different arm movement this time. This time we're going to inhale, lift the arms up. And then exhale, pull them down to a cactus. Inhale to lift. Exhale, pull it down. Inhale, lift up. And exhale, pull it down. Bring the hands down inside of the left foot. Walk that left foot out to the left edge of the mat. And here's where I'll find my props again. You can have blocks, books, or whatever feels appropriate to you. All right, and then we're going to find our kind of juicy hip circles. So we're going to start to circle the hips around. Drawing figure eights. Letting that right hip flexor sink down towards the earth a little bit. If you can do one thing every day in pregnancy, this would be my recommendation, because it really just lets you open the hips, stretch them out, It's also, from what I've heard from people who've gone au naturel with their childbirth, it can be a really nice laboring position because movement can sort of take your mind off of any intensity or painful sensations. All right, so let's pause here. Restack that left knee so that it's directly on top of the left ankle. And then we're going to come into our lizard pose. So I'll move the block so you can see what I'm doing. So lizard pose, hands are on the earth inside of that left foot. And then those of you with openness through the hips might come down onto your forearms. And those of you who are feeling bigger through the belly or tighter through the hips might be on your fingertips. Or you might have props to support you. Coming back to your breath, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. All right, from here, I'd like you to take those left toes, pick them up and turn them out to the left a little bit. You can bring your left hand onto your left thigh and gently push it away so that you can kind of get a deeper inner groin stretch, but not too deep. We want to be easy with our bodies here. And then if you'd like to, you can intensify this by stretching your left arm back behind you and gazing towards your left fingertips. Remembering to always be really gentle, not pushing it too far. And then bring the hands back down. And then we're going to transition into our gate pose. So that you can see this, I'm going to bring my knee off of the mat. I'm going to heel toe this left foot out to the left side so that we're standing on the right shin and our left leg is straight. That foot is in line with our right kneecap. Left arm down the left leg. Lift your right arm up and overhead for your side stretch. Releasing out of the side stretch. Bring your hands down to the earth in front of your body so that your shoulders are directly over your wrists. And then you're going to shift your hips back a little bit. Stretching out through that inner thigh. Once again, your hand's going to be on blocks here if that's better for you. And then release. That left leg is going to continue its journey back behind you, tucking the left toes under. For a calf stretch, you can shift the heel back and forward, finding that nice stretch to the calf. You might be experiencing more calf cramps, leg cramps in pregnancy, which is normal, so giving that calf a nice stretch can help. And then we're going to come into a supported side plank. So the right shin is going to turn out towards the right, seal the left foot down, lift the left arm up, coming into your supported side plank. And then release that left hand down, both knees down to the earth. We're going to come up to stand. You can come up via a downward facing dog, or if you prefer just to lift the torso and come up via a lunge, that's fine. I'll go via down dog, so tuck the toes, lift the hips, and gently walking the feet forward to meet the hands. The walks might start to look a little more lumbery the further along you get. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold. And inhale, sweep the arms up. Hands to heart center. All right. We're going to come to face the top of the mat. I'm just going to adjust my camera a little bit so I can see you all a little bit more, so I can be a little bit more in frame as I make adjustments to practice in my adequate yet small San Francisco space. All right, I'm going to come into goddess pose. So join me. Take your feet nice and wide. Big toes, your toes are pointing out and your heels are in. I like to have one hand either side of my pelvis to keep that pelvis neutral as you bend the knees and slide the upper body down. Your knees should be opening out towards the outer edges of your feet, so your knees are not knocking in towards the center. They're opening up towards the wall behind you, or your knees are sort of pressing towards the outside edges of your feet. You're going to feel a stretch through the groin here. And then we're going to work with our breath here. So we're going to take our hands, palms forward, take a big inhale through the nose, and then exhale through the nose as you push the hands away, and then inhale, sweep back. Exhale, push the hands away, and inhale, sweep it back. And you can move your legs up and down too as well. So sinking it down, releasing, exhale, inhale, sort of like you're doing the breaststroke. Good. Twice more. And then stay lowered. All right, and then you can release the legs. We're going to move into a warrior two. I'm going to mirror you, so I'm going to be referring to what is my left side as my right side so that I am in the same orientation as you. So you're going to have your right toes. You're going to point them straight towards the short edge of the mat. Your left leg is going to reach out long behind you, and those left toes are going to be pointing slightly in. So if these are your left toes, they're sort of angling towards the upper right corner of the mat. We're trying to have our right heel bisecting our left arch. And then that right kneecap should be trying to open out once again towards the outer edge of the right foot. So it's like your kneecap is in line with the second and third toes on that right foot. And then we're going to inhale, lift the arms up. And then as you exhale, just look over those right fingertips. Warrior two. You might be noticing that your breath is shorter in pregnancy, perfectly natural, but it is an adjustment. We're going to come from warrior two, and we're going to come into Utthita Parsvakonasana, or extended side angle. Release the right elbow so it's gently resting on the right thigh. You're not really pressing in too hard to the right thigh, so it is still your legs and your torso holding you up. And then take that left arm lifted up and overhead. You can stay here, or if you'd like a little shoulder work, you can draw big circles. You've got a windmill for an arm here. That can feel nice. And if that's too much, you can just have that arm reaching overhead so that the bicep is in line with the ear. And then lift yourself up to warrior two. And we're going to take a reverse warrior. Take that, what am I calling this? I'm calling this your left hand. Take your left hand down your left leg. Lift your right palm up towards the sky. And opening it up. Sinking down, reversing your warrior. Another term for this is open-hearted warrior. So you imagine that you're opening your heart up towards the sky. And then come back through warrior two. Bring your hands to your hips and turn all 10 toes to point forward. Good. All right, let's come into Prasarita Padottanasana, wide leg forward fold. Forward fold. So your legs are wide. The outside edges of your feet are parallel to the outside edges of the mat. And then you hinge at the hips and let your hands reach down towards the earth. Release your head so the crown of your head is dangling towards the floor. Bring your weight forward a little bit in your feet so the weight is more in the balls of your feet rather than your heels. I'm going to allow your breath to settle. Gently bend your knees and roll your torso up. We'll take warrior two to the other side. Left toes turn towards the left edge of the mat. Right toes slightly in as if they're pointing somewhat towards the upper left corner of the mat. Deep bend into that left knee. And then the left knee is tracking towards the second and third toes on the left foot. Inhale to lift and exhale, let your gaze settle on those left fingertips. Utthita Parsvakonasana. Bring your left forearm down to your left thigh, reach your right arm up and overhead. bicep in line with your ear. You can stay here or taking those big windmill circles with your arms. Maybe change the directions if you'd like. And then on your next inhale, lift yourself up to warrior two. Reverse your warrior. Right hand down the right side, left palm flips and lifts up towards the sky, gazing up. Come back, warrior two. Hands to the hips. Turn the toes to face towards the front of the mat again. And this time we're going to come back into that sort of goddess stance. Toes out, heels in, bend your knees. And this time you can allow your hands to rest on the thighs. And then dip one shoulder down to the opposite knee. Stretching out through the shoulders and the low back. Inhale, come through center. And exhale, take the opposite side. And inhale, come through center. Start to roll yourself up to stand. Heel toe those feet in towards each other. Coming to stand, and we'll do a little bit of balance work. Your balance will likely be a little bit off in pregnancy, so we'll take it fairly easy. We'll start by lifting our heels and lifting our hands and trying to get our hands and our heels to reach the highest point at the same time. So the trick is to move your heels up slowly as you lift your arms up quickly. So it's a little bit of a mind game. So we're going to inhale, lift the heels, lift the arms, trying to come to the highest point at the same time. And then exhale, lowering the heels slowly as you lower the hands quickly, coming down to the lowest point at the same time if possible. Inhale to lift. Exhale, lower. A few more like that. Inhale, lift. And exhale, lower. Last time. Good. Now we'll come into a tree pose. Bring your weight into your right foot. Allow your right hip to hug in towards the midline so that right leg is really straight. And then we're going to lift the left foot. You can have the left toes on the earth and allow that left arch to be at the ankle, or you can lift it a little bit higher so that it rests on the calf. Or if you have a stronger yoga practice and you're able, you can have that foot on the thigh. Keep hugging that right foot hip in. And then we can bring the hands to the heart for a tree pose, finding one place to gaze, a drishti. Trying to bring your breath back. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the nose. And release. Bring that knee back through center and lower it down. Okay. 2 ankle circles. Feels nice here. Other side. Weight into the left foot. Hug that left hip back in through center. Foot can be at the arch. Arch can be at the ankle or at the calf. We avoid the knee. Or maybe we go into the thigh. Hands at the heart. Find your drishti gaze. Drishti means gaze. When we say drishti gaze, you're just saying gaze, gaze. Coming back to your breath. And then release the foot, knee to center, and release everything down. Shake out the ankles. Good. All right, we're going to make our way to sit, but we're going to come via a squat. So bring your feet wide. So if you were sort of facing the long edge of if you were on lengthwise on your mat, your feet would be about as wide as your mat, and your toes would be out, and your heels would be in. Since I want to face you, I'll have that distance between my feet and mind as I come here. And then we're going to sink our hips down, knees squat, coming down to your elbows. Can nestle into your knees. If this feels like too much, having a block underneath your sitting bones can create a nice support here. Lifting up through the chest. You can continue our work of trying to gently open the hips throughout the pregnancy. This is also a nice place to practice Kegels. Taking a few more rounds of breath here. And then if you've got a block underneath your sitting bones, set it aside and gently release yourself down onto the mat. Okay. So sitting cross-legged, I like to have a blanket underneath my hips so that it allows the sort of pelvis to tilt forward a little bit, which allows the low back to be less compressed. So sitting here, take a few rounds of breath. It's kind of nice to come back to your center when you switch from the standing practice to the floor practice. We're going to come into Parvrita Janu Sirsasana. Once again, I'll mirror you. So we're going to take our left leg, we're going to reach that long. Our left hand is going to reach down the left leg. And then we're going to open our chest up so that it's as if our breastbone is in line with our right kneecap. And then you're going to reach your right arm up and overhead, so those right fingertips are reaching towards your left toes. So this is a fairly big stretch for your lower back body. So if it's too much, you can back out a little bit. On your next inhale, lift that right arm up, place the right hand down on the earth behind your right hip, and then your left hand is going to reach to your right knee. You're just going to gently twist towards the right. So this shouldn't be an overly compressing twist for the belly, but I'd still like you to take it very gentle here because big twists are not generally recommended, but a little twist can be nice for the spine. Or not generally recommended for pregnancy, I should say. And release. And we'll switch legs. Right leg out, left foot into the left thigh. Right hand reaches down the right leg. Inhale the left arm up, heart opening towards the left kneecap. Coming into Parvrita Janu Sirsasana. Revolved head to knee pose. Inhale, lift it up. Bring that hand behind the hip. Opposite hands, opposite knee. Gentle twist. And release. Go ahead and come into a comfortable seated position, Sukhasana, whatever that means for you, perhaps cross-legged or sitting up onto shins. We're going to come into a little neck stretch. So take your left hand, grab hold of your right your right wrist, and then pull the right wrist over towards your left side. So you'll notice that your left elbow is sort of pointing out towards the left. And then just drop your left ear down towards your left shoulder, so you're stretching out through the right side of the neck. And release. Shake it out. Take the other side. Right hand grabs hold of the left wrist. Pull that left wrist over towards your right side. Right elbow popping out towards the right. Right ear drops down towards the right shoulder, stretching out through the left side of the neck. And release. Take a few shoulder rolls. And then just do any last seated movements that you'd like to do. Maybe you're shaking out your wrists, your neck, letting your legs sort of stretch and relax. And then we're going to come down onto the floor. So if you're earlier than 25 weeks in your pregnancy, you might still find it comfortable to lie flat on your back. If you're 25 weeks or beyond, you might be more comfortable lying on your side. Or you could choose to forego being on your on the floor at all and come into a meditative posture, so sitting in Sukhasana with a straight spine. So just find a meditative posture that feels good for you. For myself, I'm in between 29 and 30 weeks, so I would probably choose for Shavasana a side lying position. Arms stretched out long, ear resting on bicep. It can feel nice for the bottom leg to be stretched out long, having a pillow or some sort of prop in front of that long leg, and then bending the top leg and resting it there. That can feel nice. So you can play around with props and positions of your limbs to make sure that you're in a position that feels really supported. And if you're comfortable lying flat on your back, that can always be nice. So find that Shavasana pose that works for you. And once you feel comfortable or relatively comfortable in your body, allow your eyes to close. And if that doesn't feel safe, you can choose something soft to let your focus rest on. Take a few deep rounds of breath just to release the breath, so you can inhale, gather up any extra energy, and exhale, release it. Feel the body ground down into the earth. And then once those full exhalations feel complete, let your breath become soft and natural. And you can use this time in Shavasana to imagine a place that feels really safe and comforting to you. Perhaps someplace in nature, or someplace in your home or a home that you once have been in. It just feels like a place of peace and relaxation. And in your mind, just start to fill in all the details of this place. What does it feel like? What does it smell like? What sounds do you hear? What other people or animals or creatures are there with you? What physical objects are in this place? Maybe a cup of tea or a book, a babbling river. One of the things we can do in pregnancy to prepare ourselves for childbirth is to create a place of mental ease and comfort that we can bring our minds to when our physical discomforts become really intense and it becomes somewhat hard to bear. Find these little mental oases that allows us to feel safe for a moment, to gather our strength as we get ourselves ready for the next physical challenge or mental challenge. So I invite you just to sort of notice what this safe space is. Earmark it in your mind so you can come back to it at any stage. And then for the next few moments of Shavasana, you can release any imaginary world that you're in. Just let your body relax completely. You're welcome to stay in Shavasana for as long as you'd like. I'm going to take the next few minutes to guide us through some pranayama or breath work. So if you feel like you'd like to be in Shavasana a little bit longer, you can pause the video and then come back to the pranayama at a different time. And if you're feeling complete with your rest, you can roll onto your side body, taking a moment in transition to honor this pause between rest and between a more active part of your day. And then using the support of your hands, gently, slowly lift yourself up to a seated position. And once seated, you might choose to sit up onto the edge of a blanket or a block. And then we're just going to take a few moments to practice some pranayama or some energy and breath work. And we're going to do the 1 to 2 inhale to exhale ratio. So this is known as the calming breath, and it's also known as nature's natural painkiller. So if you find yourself in a position in which you need to be a little bit calmer or have some natural pain-killing remedies at hand, such as childbirth, this can be a very nice breath practice to have ready to go. So it's simply taking an inhalation and then exhaling for twice as long. So there's a few ways you can work with this. You can count, which is my preferred method, or you can use visualization. So you might imagine that you're taking a gentle breath in, and then as you exhale, you're blowing a bubble through a bubble wand, and so you need to let that bubble breath be a little bit longer than your inhalation, so you can get a nice big bubble. Some people like to imagine that they have a little piece of ribbon rolled up into a roll in front of them, and as they exhale, the ribbon is unfurling in the wind. So you can choose what works for you. I'll lead us through with a counting method. So we're just going to take a few rounds of breath to sync our breath together. So we'll inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth, twice more. Inhale through the nose, and exhale through the mouth. Inhale through the nose, and exhale through the mouth. And now we're going to inhale for a count of 4. Inhale, 3, 2, 1, and exhale for 8. Exhale, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Continuing on, inhale and exhale. And just notice yourself what length of exhalation feels appropriate for you. Perhaps it's longer than an 8 count. Perhaps it's shorter than an 8 count. We don't want to be causing mental or physical stress in the body. So if holding for a count of 8 feels like too much, you can shorten it and maybe have this breath be a 3 to 6 ratio or a 2 to 4. And then once your last round of exhalation is complete, you can come back to a natural breath. And I encourage you to come back to that type of pranayama or breathwork exercise as often as you're able to, because being able to lengthen the exhale is a wonderful way to tap into our parasympathetic nervous system, which allows us to the body to focus on the rest and digest portion of its operating system, as opposed to the fight or flight, which we find ourselves sort of locked in much of our lives. So that 2 to 1 exhale to inhale ratio can help calm the mind and calm the body in a lot of different ways. So I encourage you to come back to that. And if you're still in your seated position, we'll just end by saying namaste. So bring your hands to heart center, pressing the palms together, Lots of integrity through the arms and the elbows. Inhale. And then as you exhale, bring the thumbs to your forehead and bowing down, saying namaste. Namaste. Thank you so much for sharing this practice with me. I hope that it was enjoyable. And if you are going to do this practice again, I would just always encourage you to be bold with your modifications. Don't take anything your teacher says as gospel. Just listen to your body at all times, particularly in pregnancy. So I hope that you have enjoyed this. I have certainly enjoyed practicing with you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste.